There was a brief window, roughly 15 years, from the mid-80s to the late 90s, when Hollywood understood something it has since decided to forget. It understood that desire is dangerous, that money corrupts absolutely, that passion doesn't lead to romance, it leads to ruin, and that audiences didn't need to be protected from any of it in movies. These films weren't cautionary tales, they weren't moral arguments, they were entertainment, built on the premise that lust, greed, and obsession are the most cinematic forces on earth, and that the most dangerous person in any room is usually the most attractive one. Then something changed. The values that powered these films, intrigue, sex, danger, money, passion, became cinematically outlawed, too morally compromised, too uncomfortable, too honest about what people actually want. What replaced them was safety, romance without consequence, desire without danger, thrillers where nobody really gets hurt. These 10 films predate that retreat. They lean into everything modern cinema has decided to outlaw. And on the right disc, in the right transfer, they still feel like they could get someone arrested. You already know Basic Instinct, you already know Fatal Attraction. This isn't that list. This is what exists beyond those films, in the margins, where the values run just as hot and the discs are considerably harder to find. 10 films, 10 discs, 0 safe choices. This is what survives. Thief of Hearts is the purest expression of the genre's central fantasy and its central danger. Stephen Bauer breaks into a house, steals a woman's private diaries, and uses them to seduce her. Barbara Williams plays the wife whose most intimate thoughts are being weaponized against her, without her knowledge. The film treats this not as horror, but as romance. That's what makes it dangerous now in a way it wasn't in 1984. The premise is genuinely transgressive by contemporary standards, a film that presents the systematic violation of a woman's privacy as the foundation of a great love story would be unmakeable today. Harold Becker directs with a lush, Harold Faltermeyer-scored sensibility that keeps the film perpetually on the edge of dream logic, Faltermeyer bringing the same Beverly Hills Cop sonic architecture to a considerably darker premise. The Paramount Blu-ray offers decent colour reproduction from a reasonable master, but the encode is the problem. File size insufficient for the grain structure, which occasionally breaks down under compression. Serviceable rather than definitive, a film this visually precise deserves a proper boutique restoration. Until that arrives, the Paramount disc is what survives. Bob Rafelson's Black Widow is the essay film of the genre, a slow, meticulous study in predatory femininity that operates more like a psychological chess match than a thriller. Deborah Winger plays a federal investigator obsessed with Teresa Russell's Catherine, a woman who marries wealthy men and kills them with clinical efficiency. The dynamic between the two women is the film's engine, part pursuit, part identification, part desire. Winger doesn't just want to catch Russell, she wants to understand her, possibly even become her. Russell is extraordinary, cold, adaptable, seductive, a woman who rebuilds her entire identity for each new victim. The film understands that the most dangerous kind of intelligence is the kind that looks like warmth and friendliness. The Twilight Time Blu-ray from the now defunct boutique label presents the film from an older master that nonetheless retains intact grain and decent colour reproduction. Not a modern restoration, and the source limitations are occasionally visible, but the grain holds, the palette is honest, and for a film that deserves far wider ownership, it remains the best option currently available. Robert M. Young's Extremities arrives from a different direction than the rest of this list. Adapted from William Mastrosimmone's stage play, it is less erotic thriller than sustained confrontation. Farrah Fawcett plays a woman who narrowly escapes an attempted sexual assault, then captures her attacker, James Russo, in her own home. What follows is a 2-hour power struggle in a single location, as control shifts repeatedly between captor and captive. The film earns its place here not through genre mechanics but through the same core values: danger, weaponized desire, power as the only real currency. Fawcett's performance was the great career re-evaluation of the decade. She plays a woman who has to become something she isn't in order to survive, and the film watches that transformation with unflinching attention. This is the list's moral anchor, a film that shows what these values look like when stripped of glamour entirely. The Olive Films Blu-ray is a decent presentation for a mid-80s production, chunky grain intact, colours stable, nothing artificially applied. For a single location film shot with theatrical intensity, the transfer respects the claustrophobic visual grammar of the original, honest in the material, and that honesty is enough here. Curtis Hanson's The Bedroom Window is Hitchcock with the moral framework quietly removed. Steve Guttenberg, cast brilliantly against type, witnesses a murder from his married lover's apartment window. To protect her identity, he reports the crime himself, claiming to be the witness. From that single act of misguided chivalry, the film constructs an increasingly airless trap. Isabelle Huppert plays the lover with characteristic opacity, a woman who may be protecting herself, may be manipulating him, and is certainly doing both simultaneously. Elizabeth McGovern provides the film's emotional anchor as the surviving witness Guttenberg becomes entangled with. The director Hanson understands that desire is the mechanism of destruction. Nobody forces Guttenberg into his situation. He walks into it willingly and keeps walking. The Kino Lorber Blu-ray is the only current option, and this is a compromised one. The master originates from a Studio Canal source subjected to digital noise reduction, DNR visible in the softening of fine detail, and the plastic quality that occasionally surfaces in skin tones. Watchable, not definitive, The Bedroom Window deserves better than it has received on disc. Masquerade is the most underrated film on this list and possibly the most purely constructed erotic thriller ever made in the 80s. Rob Lowe plays a young sailing instructor who begins an affair with an heiress, whose vast inheritance makes her the target of everyone around her. The film operates as a series of elegant reversals, each one reframing what came before, until the final act dismantles the entire architecture of the story. What makes Masquerade exceptional is its commitment to the central premise, that nobody can be trusted, and that the most dangerous thing about desire is how completely it disables judgment. The film doesn't cheat, every deception is earned, every betrayal has been visible in retrospect. It exists in near total obscurity, and it shouldn't. The Kino Lorber Blu-ray works from a dated older master, grain present, and colours serviceable, but this is preservation rather than restoration. For a film in near total obscurity, the fact that it exists on disc at all is the argument. Masquerade is one of those titles where ownership itself is an act of cultural rescue. The disc is adequate, the film is an essential erotic thriller. Das Boot director Wolfgang Petersen's Shattered is the genre's most formally audacious entry, a film that uses amnesia not as a gimmick, but as a structural condition that infects the entire viewing experience. Tom Berenger plays a man who survives a car crash with no memory of his previous life. As fragments return, the film begins constructing and deconstructing his identity simultaneously. Greta Scacchi plays his wife, or the woman who claims to be his wife. Bob Hoskins provides the film's moral centre as a pet shop owner turned private investigator. Petersen understands that the real subject is epistemological. How do you trust anyone when you can't trust your own perception? Shattered takes that question and makes it literal, arriving at a finale that reframes everything preceding it. It is largely forgotten, and it deserves more appreciation. The Kino Lorber Blu-ray shares the same DNA as the Masquerade release, a dated older master, serviceable grain, colours that hold without distinction. For a film as formally ambitious as Shattered, the disc is a placeholder rather than a presentation. It exists, it's watchable, and for a film this comprehensively forgotten, existence itself is its own quiet victory to physical media collectors. Nicholas Kazan's Dream Lover is the genre at its most suffocating, a slow psychological dismantling that operates entirely through the mechanics of a marriage. James Spader plays a divorced architect who becomes obsessed with and quickly marries a mysterious woman played by Machen Amick. The film then watches with cold patience as every assumption he made about her proves false. Identity, history, motivation, all of it constructed, all of it designed. Spader is the ideal vessel for this kind of story. His particular brand of intelligent, slightly entitled masculinity makes his humiliation feel earned rather than simply cruel. He wanted a fantasy, the film delivers one, and then shows him the mechanism behind it. Dream Lover is one of the least seen films on this list and one of the most precise. It understands that the real subject is not danger, it's the catastrophic consequences of projection. The Sandpiper Pictures Blu-ray presents the R-rated cut only. The unrated version remains unavailable on disc, which is itself a commentary on how completely this film has been overlooked. Decent master, grain intact, colours honest, nothing spectacular. The disc is functional, The film was the reason to seek it out. Philip Noyce's Sliver arrives in Basic Instinct's slipstream and never quite escapes it. Sharon Stone, fresh from Basic Instinct, plays a book editor who moves into a Manhattan high-rise and becomes entangled with two men, one of whom may be surveilling every apartment through hidden cameras. William Baldwin is the building's owner, Tom Berenger is the obsessive neighbour. The premise is solid, the execution is the problem. Where Basic Instinct understood that seduction requires architecture, precise framing, controlled pacing, the camera as accomplice, Sliver fumbles the mechanics, the direction is unimaginative, the set piece is stilted, the cinematography unable to generate the visual tension the material demands. It inherited the values without understanding what made them cinematic, and yet it earns its place precisely because of that failure. Sliver is the genre at its most nakedly commercial, a film that wanted to be Basic Instinct, couldn't manage it, and remains fascinating for the gap between ambition and execution. Stone commits completely to material that doesn't deserve her. The Vinegar Syndrome 4K is a genuinely nice restoration for a film that has a fundamentally flat visual structure. Fine grain is present, the encode is stable, the presentation doing more for the film than the film perhaps deserves. Vinegar Syndrome have treated Sliver with a generosity the filmmaking never quite earned. The disc is better than the film, that in its own way is the final irony. William Friedkin's Jade is the genre at its most cynical, a film that treats power, sex, and political corruption as interchangeable currencies in a world where everyone is compromised. David Caruso plays a prosecutor investigating a murder connected to a high-end prostitution ring that reaches into the highest levels of California government. Linda Fiorentino plays a psychiatrist and possible suspect at the centre of the investigation. Chaz Palminteri provides the moral wreckage as Caruso's former friend and professional rival. Joe Esterhazy wrote the screenplay, his fourth collaboration with this exact world of money, sex, and institutional rot, and Friedkin directs with the cold, procedural authority of someone who has no interest in making anyone comfortable. Jade was dismissed on release. It is significantly better than its reputation suggests, tighter, darker, and more politically coherent than Sliver or even Basic Instinct in its understanding of how power actually corrupts. Vinegar Syndrome's 4K is a genuine restoration victory for a film that has been poorly served on home video. Sourced from the original negative, the colours have been regraded with real vibrancy, restoring the California heat that flattened earlier releases, and the grain is chunky and present throughout, replacing the overbright smooth masters that circulated from Paramount previously. This is Jade looking as it was always meant to look. Friedkin's cold procedural aesthetic finally has the visual weight it demands. Mike Hodges' Croupier closes the list and the era simultaneously. Clive Owen plays Jack, a writer who takes a job as a casino croupier and finds himself drawn, with complete self-awareness, towards everything he knows will destroy him. The film operates as a neo-noir with erotic thriller DNA. The femme fatale is present, the moral corruption is present, the protagonist's culpability is entirely present. What distinguishes Croupier is its narrator's intelligence. Jack knows exactly what is happening to him. He watches himself make every bad decision with the detached clarity of a man writing the scene rather than living it. That doubling, participant and observer, gives the film a formal elegance the rest of the genre rarely achieves. Croupier was the last great film of this cycle. After it, the window closed. The values that powered these 10 films retreated from mainstream cinema and haven't returned. Arrow's 4K restoration, approved by director Mike Hodges, is a definitive presentation of the film and one of the finest restorations on this list. Sourced from the original camera negative, the colours and lighting have been returned to a natural filmic level, the grain is present and stable throughout, and the encode is strong. This is Croupier as Hodges intended it, cool, precise, immaculate. The last great film of this cycle finally has the disc it deserves. 10 films made in a window that is now definitively closed. The values that powered them, desire without apology, danger without safety nets, passion as a legitimate destructive force, have been quietly removed from mainstream cinema, replaced with comfort, replaced with moral clarity, replaced with the assurance that nobody will be made to feel genuinely unsafe. What those films understood, and what their replacements don't, is that the most interesting human experiences operate outside ethical frameworks, that desire doesn't ask permission, that obsession doesn't resolve cleanly, that the most dangerous people are the ones you choose to trust. You won't find these arguments in current cinema, you'll find them on disc, preserved, stabilised, and still dangerous. That's all from us at The Last Disc on Earth, and remember, come the apocalypse, physical media will prevail.